for the busy family, I'm bringing to you 3 lunch ideas inspired by back to school. These 3 ideas are very easy to do, and you can make a week's worth and keep in your fridge, or make a bunch and stick in your freezer. So for this one, we are going to do a DIY Uncrustables. All you need is your favorite type of bread, your favorite peanut butter or any type of nut butter, and your favorite jelly or preserves. This part is easy, and you can get your kids involved too. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to make 2 of them at a time. So we're going to have 4 pieces of bread down, and you're going to spread the peanut butter on each slice of bread. So make sure that you spread it. You don't have to get it all the way to the crust because we will cut it off, but you want to make sure that you get it nice and covered and put a good layer over it. Now make sure that you're not spreading it too thin. You want a nice good layer covering it, covering each slice, and I'll explain here in just a moment why. Next you're going to put the jelly in it, but you're going to put jelly on just one of the slices out of the 2 slices for the sandwich, and you're going to try to keep it away from the edges, and I'll explain here in just a second why. And you're going to keep it kind of thick like that and keep it in the middle like what we've started right there. And the reason why we have the layers of the peanut butter is to prevent the bread from being soggy. Because if you put this in the fridge with the jelly touching the bread, it's going to get soggy. Or if you put it in the freezer, the slice of bread touching the jelly is going to definitely get soggy. But by doing this in between 2 slices of bread with peanut butter over it, if you freeze it, then the jelly in the middle stays frozen in your kid's lunchbox, and it's kind of like its own ice pack. And like I said, your kids can do this on their own. Just make sure you supervise. After you spread the jelly on at least 1 slice of the bread, you're going to put the other slice of bread covered with peanut butter on top. Now for this next part, depending on the age of your child, you're going to probably want to do this yourself or have them get an adult. You're going to cut off the crust. You can use a butter knife or a sharp knife, but still use adult supervision. Now if you have those cute little shape cutters, they're not cookie cutters, they're sandwich cutters, you can use that and make the little shapes. Now after you get all the crust off, you're going to go around the edges, sealing them with a fork like you would a pie. And you're just going to go all the way around and seal all the edges. And that is how you DIY your own Uncrustables. Now they may not look as pretty as the ones that you can buy in the store, but they're easier, cheaper, and the kids can get involved, and it's a lot of fun to make a mess. You can use your own peanut butter and your own jelly of whatever kind you like, as well as the bread. For this recipe, we are going to make pizzadillas, and it's a recipe that my son and I came up with because he loves pizza so much. What I'm going to be using is going to be flour tortillas, butter, cheese, pepperoni, Parmesan cheese, and garlic powder. If you don't like pepperoni and mozzarella cheese, you can use whatever kind of cheese you want. You can add mushroom, you can do it with chicken instead, or leave out the meat. It is completely up to you. So while you're prepping your tortillas for the quesadilla or pizzadilla, whichever you decide to make, you're going to make sure you turn on your stove tops to make your pan very hot. Now for the tortilla, you're going to make sure that you butter one side of both of the tortillas. After you butter one side of each tortilla, you're going to sprinkle a little bit of garlic and a little bit of Parmesan. I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of garlic powder over each side, or each of the tortillas where you have the butter. And then you're going to sprinkle the Parmesan cheese just a little bit over each of the tortillas with the butter. Now if you have a heavy hand like my daughter did for the Parmesan cheese, you can just take the tortilla that has all the Parmesan cheese and shake it off onto the other tortilla. After you have buttered your tortillas and you make sure that your pan is nice and hot, you're going to put the tortilla butter side down onto your pan. And now you're going to sprinkle mozzarella over it, or whatever cheese you prefer. Make sure you cover as close to the edges as you dare.
Here, Flash.
Next, you're going to put on the pepperonis, and then you're going to cover them with more mozzarella cheese. After you sprinkle the mozzarella cheese on top of the pepperonis, you're going to get the other tortilla and put it on top. Make sure it's butter side up. You didn't do what my daughter almost did, which was butter side down, because if you do, when you flip this here in a little bit, you will stick to the pan and it'll be a big mess, which that kind of is too. But again, you can get your kids involved with making their own lunches. They might appreciate it a little bit more, and it's a lot of fun to cook together. Now, as the cheese melts and the tortilla browns, you'll want to flip it over. And if you notice it's not browned to your desired browning of your tortilla that you want, then you can cook it on the one side that you just flipped it to, wait until that side's browned, and then flip it back over and cook this side a little bit longer, which I am going to do. Now, after it is browned, make sure that you let it cool before you put it in the fridge or the freezer so it does not get soggy from the heat. And if you're going to put several in a gallon-sized freezer bag or a quart-sized bag, make sure you let it cool, put parchment paper between it, and then stick it in the bag. Now, if you are going to use different meats and not the pepperoni and mozzarella, then do not put the garlic on it, but still butter your tortilla. And classic childhood favorite is pigs in the blanket. So get your favorite dogs and get your favorite croissants. We're using Pillsbury crescents, and we're just going to use regular hot dogs for this pigs in a blanket. You can always add cheese if you want to. One kid does, one kid doesn't, so I'm just going to leave it without cheese this time. You're going to make sure that you preheat the oven to 375. You're going to open up your crescent rolls or your biscuits, depending on what you want to use. After opening your crescent rolls or your biscuits, make sure that you separate them. Next, open up your hot dogs. You're going to put the hot dog on the longer end of the crescent roll. If you do biscuits, put it in the middle after you flatten the biscuits out a little bit, and try to kind of pinch it and roll it around it. So go ahead, and we're going to roll this up. And again, this is another fun thing that you can do with your kids. Make their own lunch. Get them involved in cooking. Now you do this with all of your hot dogs. Now if you added cheese to yours, you would put the cheese down first and then the hot dog and then roll it. Or if you have the biscuits, you flatten them out, put down the slice of cheese, put down the hot dog, and then roll it up around it and pinch it. If you're done rolling your hot dogs and the oven has preheated, stick them in the oven, and you're going to make sure that you cook them for 12 minutes or until your biscuits or crescents are nice and fluffy and golden. After they're cooked, nice and crispy and golden brown, make sure you let them cool for a little bit on the pan and then move them off to a plate or a paper towel. Let them cool completely before you put them either in a Ziploc for this week's lunch, or wrap them in parchment paper and stick them in the freezer. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Leave me in the comments if you tried to make any of these items, and tune in next week for the back to school snacks that we make here at home. And I hope that you have a great day. God bless.
And if you like this